Okay, so I'm back. Let's continue the story. So now I'm back in New York from Job Corps, pregnant, and got to get to California now. Because the only thing my grandmother is thinking about is I'm pregnant. And I'm supposed to be with my husband. So let's get this on the road. Okay. So I gets to New York. Mommy sends me, pays for my Greyhound ticket to get to California. I get to California. His mommy and his daddy does not pick me up. His best friend comes and get me. That should have been a red flag to me. I think later on when me and my grandmother was talking about it, like after I got there, she asked me who picked me up from the airport. Or did she ask me, did the mother or the father pick me up? And I said, no. She said, no? She said, what you talking about? I said, no, mommy. Not thinking nothing. Because, see, you got to understand. I was raised by a grandmother that was saved, and her only intentions was to get to heaven. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in a way like she's not even thinking about any bad or negativity that's going to take place from that side of the family. She's not even thinking that, and neither am I. You know, I'm just thinking, oh, I'm going down here to California. This is Hollywood. This is where all the people on the movies that I don't know nothing about because I was raised up without a television. But, you know, you hear things, you learn things, you know. So, this is where I'm going. So, it's very exciting to me. So, I get down there. I'm thinking I'm going to meet his parents, and his parents going to love me. I'm gonna be daughter-in-law, and we're going to have a house with a picket fence. I wouldn't know. Let me take that picket fence. So I got that from the movie. They ain't got nothing to do with no picket fence. I wasn't thinking about the picket fence. I was thinking about a house, and we'll be together. I'm pregnant, so we'll have a kid. We'll be good, you know, all that good stuff. Wasn't I in store for a rude awakening? I was in store for that. Yeah, it's still coming up, but the main part of the hair is glued down. So, I'm gonna go to the store right quick, and I may not use the new curler until I guess I need to put that thing around my head. This right here to hold it down. Oops. So 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 now I'm in California now, and I am waiting to meet his parents because both his parents is at work. I don't think I met his sisters and them until later on, maybe the next day or something like that. So the parents I met that day, but when they got off from work, she took to me. She, you know, every time she would come in from work, she would call me and we would sit up there and we would watch TV together. Because she worked in, it's a big, big hotel, Central Hotel. I guess everything's like central out there because it's like the community. Everybody knowing one another. So she worked in Central Hotel, and it was the main hotel where celebrities come in. And whenever the celebrities come in, you can't be in that hotel. So she met President Nixon. She would come and tell us about who she met that day and stuff like that. So it started out good, you know. We sit and talk, we laugh. You know, she had me in the kitchen. I was like a little daughter. I guess, you know, I was that daughter that she always wanted. When she found out I was pregnant, I don't know what happened, and I never got a chance to find out what was her thoughts on our pregnancy because she just dropped me like a hot potato. She would come in from work. She wouldn't call me no more. I would come out. I would come out to sit with her, and she would become very silent. She wouldn't say nothing to me. I would be like, "So who you saw today?" "Oh, it was nobody." What we're talking about? "I'm going to eat my dinner and then I'm going to bed." You know, so we became disconnected. Trying to find the top because I know it fell. I picked it up at that time, which I should have. I can't find it. So, top that. Top to the glue. Okay, so let me go on. So now, once that started happening, then everybody started acting funny towards me. It was like I was up there by myself. Nobody was interacting with me. Nobody was taking me out nowhere. Nobody, I mean, it was like I was there by myself. And it wasn't me and Tracy. It was me and Tracy's family. And Tracy was in his world because he was out there messing around with girls, sexing girls, and all this other stuff. And he would come and sex me, you know. And he gave me herpes. I think it was herpes. I don't know what it was because I didn't go and get diagnosed about it. But he would give me, well, what it was. I'm going to say it was herpes because I was itching so, and I told my grandmother about it. And I took a picture of it and I sent it to her. They didn't have cell phones and stuff, so I had to tell her it was bumpy and itchy and red and all this other stuff. No, now I'm thinking about a picture. No, I didn't take no picture. That would have been kind of gross. But that's the type of relationship me and my grandmother had, you know? And I told her what it was about and stuff like that. And she was like, oh my goodness, it sounds like you got herpes. I called up the doctor from Job Corps. And I was talking to the doctor because I didn't have no insurance or nothing. Right. So I didn't have no insurance or anything like that. That's one thing. They fixed it up where I could get money, but they didn't take me to no doctors. I was, now I'm thinking about that was crazy. They did not take me to no doctors. Oh my God. I'm thinking about that now. I'm pregnant. Tracy didn't take me. I must have stayed there for a good 6 months. Because when I moved down there, when I got down there, I was 3 months. Because I got pregnant in Job Corps. So for 3 months of Job Corps, they was trying to find out whether I was pregnant. So the month that I was leaving, which is the 3rd month that I had done tried, took the tests, and it kept coming back negative. And I kept saying something is going on with me because I was eating like crazy. My chest was getting big. And my stomach was coming into a shape that wasn't a regular stomach. But every time I went for the test in Job Corps, they would tell me that it was negative. So now, the last test, because that's how often we was trying to get pregnant. Because now, it's like I said, I got to run back now a little bit, rewind. The only way you can get out of Job Corps was to get pregnant, have a fight with somebody, hurt somebody, and then you have to leave. So I wasn't into that fighting and stuff. So it was pregnancy for me. So me and Tracy had sex quite 3 times. And the first time, I wasn't pregnant. The second time, I wasn't pregnant. The 3rd time, I went to the test. I was pregnant. And I was 3 months. So all the time I'm saying something, I'm telling Tracy, telling me I'm pregnant. My girlfriend, the barber girl, telling me I'm pregnant. All this going on. I'm pregnant. But the test is saying negative. Finally, the test come out pregnant. So now I go to California. So by the time I get to California, I'm 4 months. So from 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 4, 5, 6, 7. Maybe 3 months into my pregnancy down there, I didn't have no doctors. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, there was no doctor. I didn't go to no doctor. I didn't have no prenatal care. Hold up. Let me think. I think the 7th month is when his family decided to take me to a doctor. I don't know what was going on. Maybe something was going on. But let me rewind back to the herpes part. I called the doctor from Job Corps. Spoke to that doctor. I don't know, for some reason she had some kind of animosity against me. Who knows, maybe she didn't want me to get pregnant by Tracy because of what type of person Tracy was, but nobody didn't want to tell me nothing. So, she always had this animosity or sort of stink attitude towards me. So when I called her up and I was talking to her, and she was like, well, how can I help you, Sharon? So I was like, well, I really don't know what to do or what's going on. So I needed to talk to some doctor. She said, well, where you at? I said, I'm in California. She said, you're not going through prenatal? I said, no. She said, no, Sharon, you're supposed to be in prenatal. So I'm like, what's prenatal? I don't know about no prenatal. And so she was like, well, prenatal is when the doctor checks you and you get pills and stuff. And she was like, are you taking any kind of vitamins or something? And I was like, I ain't taking nothing. What? Oh my goodness. She said, so all right, we'll talk about that after we finish your main reason for calling. She said, what was you calling? So I began to tell her what was going on down in my vagina, vajiji, whatever. And she was like, well, what's going on? I said, there's a lot of itching. I said, I see little white bumps in there. She asked me, was they bleeding? I said, no. She said, do they look like warts? I said, yeah. So, let me continue. Because now we're getting to the good part. So, we, so I commenced telling her what was going on down there. And she was like, is they white? I said, yes. She said, well, it sounds like you got warts or herpes. She said, I can't diagnose and tell you. You will have to go to the doctor and find out. So I don't think it was herpes. I think it was warts. That's crazy that you would get warts. Because it was, I don't know what, I guess herpes is like blisters. So I didn't have any blisters in my in my vajayjay. I had little white things that was coming. It was like it was growing out of me. And so that's what the doctor had said. She said, once she asked me about the blisters and stuff like that, I said, no, it's not blisters. She said, well, do you scratch where it like kind of bust or something? I said, yeah, I scratch, but it's like nothing is happening to them. They just saying it. She said, well, it sounds like you got warts. I said, warts? I said, well, how the crazy you get warts down there? I said, listen, doctor. I said, I don't know nothing. I said, she said, who you been with? I said, I haven't been with nobody but my husband. Look at me saying my. I said, but my boyfriend. She said, well, who he's been with? I said, well, I don't know. I said, but I don't think he's been. She said, listen. She said, that's a sexual transmitted disease. And the only sexually transmitted disease that I know of in the spiritual, being raised up in a spiritual home, was what's it? Gonorrhea, syphilis. There was another one, and that urinary tract infection, right? So it was like she was like, there's more than those out there. She said there's much more than people know. AIDS wasn't out yet. So I said, oh my God, herpes. I said, so what am I supposed to do? She said, well, you need to go to the doctor. She said, you need to go. She said, because you need to catch them and stop them before it goes up into the baby. Because she was saying that it could affect the baby. The baby could come out blind or something. And it'll give me complication in childbirth. So I was like, oh my goodness. So I got on the phone. I waited a while. I'm trying to think if I said, because I know you're asking a question, did you say something to that man? I'm trying to think. I don't think I did. I didn't say nothing. I did say something, but I didn't say nothing then. I had to get this out of me first. Right? And this is what the doctor has said to me from Utah. She said, listen, let me tell you something. That's when I realized that the lady, even now, that's when I realized and understood why the lady was acting, why the doctor was acting the way she was acting towards me. It's because she knew what type of man Tracy was. And she saw what type of woman I was. And she didn't like it. So she began to say these type of things to me. And she was saying, she said, listen, let me tell you something. I watch you here in Job Corps. You seem to come from a very respectable background. You seem to have a lot of religious. Okay. Junior? Right now, you gotta be quiet. I'm doing a video. You hear me? If you go out, lock the door. So she said, you seem to come from a very respectable family, a very respectable background. You is easily to get influenced. Now, mind you, I only call to tell her about my Vajiji, and she giving me a spiritual message. You is easy to get influenced, and you know, when you came in there talking about you was pregnant, first of all, you're too young to be pregnant. You still got your life ahead of you, and secondly, you know, he's not the one. So I'm here to tell you that if you're not doing nothing, you're telling me the truth. I say, yes, doctor, I'm telling you the truth. She said, that's what I'm saying. You're telling me the truth. I really believe you're not doing that. She said, so I'm here to tell you that that man is out there doing things. And he's catching stuff. And he's bringing it back to you. So you need to go to the doctor. You need to get yourself tested. Just like I said, AIDS wasn't out at the time. I think what was running hype then? I think hepatitis and herpes was running hype then. So she was saying you need to go get yourself tested. Make sure you clean. Make sure everything. And at that time, it was sexual transmitted disease that was running. And make sure everything is clear. And if you can go back home, go back home. That's what she said. So I was on the other end of the phone crying and stuff because here I am, I got something. She said, I don't know what it is, but it sounds like herpes. No, she said, I don't know what it is, but it sounds like warts or herpes. But since you is saying it's not a blister, and she asked me, are you getting it in any other parts of your body? I said no. I said only down the edge. And I mean, like it feel like it's going like the upper inside. She said, yeah, you need to go to the doctor. She said, because it's starting to move. She said, where did it start from? I said it started from the outer parts. She said, now it's moving inside. I said, yeah. She said, yes, hurry up and get to the doctor. She said, I'm sorry you far away from me because then I could, look at you and take care of you and tell you what needs to be done. She said, but you need to get somebody. And I was telling her, I said, nobody's doing nothing for me up here. I'm up here all by myself. I said, Tracy's not doing nothing. I haven't been to the doctor, as you can see. And I think I was 6 months pregnant then. She said, oh my goodness. She said, they really treating you bad out there. She said, well, what about your family? I said, well, I have, I said, my grandmother knows that I'm pregnant. I said, but she don't know what's happening. She said, well, you're going to have to tell somebody. She said, you got to let somebody know what's going on so you can be taken care of. She said, that's a form of abuse. I'm crying. She said, well, I pray everything works out for you, Sharon. She said, because you was a very nice girl. I pray everything works out. So I hung up the phone. This man, still out there, hanging outside with his friends. Hanging outside with his friends, smoking his little, whatever he smoked, because he didn't smoke weed. They had something that was called Thai out in California. And Sherm, that's what they smoked. Back in New York, what was running hype around New York was crack cocaine. So, he was doing his thing. So I got on the phone, I braced myself together and got the nerve, and I talked to my grandmother and told my grandmother. My grandmother said, okay, well, let me get back to you, right? And I'll tell you what to do. I didn't hear nothing from her from that day. I think it was like a day or two, I didn't hear nothing. And when she called me back, she said, Sharon, she said, be on the lookout. I sent you a box. I said, a box, man? She said, I sent you a box with food because I was telling her that they wasn't feeding. They wasn't feeding me. I was hungry. I couldn't eat what I wanted to eat because, number one, the food wasn't there. Number two, I didn't have the money. I mean, I had the money, but I didn't know where to go. They wasn't taking me shopping. I couldn't go shopping. I mean, they wasn't, I'll be honest with you. Now I understood. And I told my husband to this day when we get to talking at times, I told him, I said, I understand why you like you are. Because you didn't have no parents to teach you. I said, they was busy trying to make the big bucks. They was busy running back and forth to work. And you could tell that they wasn't too crazy about one another because one went to work at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and didn't come back almost until 3 o'clock the next morning. And the next one, which was the father, went to work at 6 o'clock in the morning and didn't come back home until 3 o'clock when the wife was out the house. So I'm not no dummy. That let me know that things was not working so great with them. So now, with that being said, I told my grandmother what's happened. My grandmother called me back. She called me back the next day, the next 2 days, 2 days later rather, and she told me that she was sending me a box with food in it, not cooked food. Well, she did cook some food and send it to me, like some chicken and cornbread and stuff like that, stuff that couldn't spoil on, during the travel part. And she sent me some teas, and she made up a salve for me. And she told me, she said, when you get the box, you call me. She said, because the Lord told me what to do. She said, the Lord let me know that you got warts. So they wasn't herpes. I was thinking all this time that it was herpes. And I even told Tracy that it was herpes. But he was like, no, it can't be herpes because if it was herpes, then you'd be breaking out with it. And he knew more about it than I did. He was a street person, so he knew the street person. I could tell him a lot about the spiritual side and the biblical parts of life. But when it comes down to the streets, that's for him. Drugs, all that stuff, he could tell it. Right? So, now, with that being said, the box came. When the box came, I called my grandmother. I didn't tell Tracy nothing. Yeah, I didn't say nothing to him yet. Just wait. I'm getting to that. I didn't tell his mother nothing. I didn't say anything. I just stayed to myself. I would stay locked up in the bathroom. When I got the box, I called my grandma and told my grandma, I said, Ma, I got the box. And it had so much teas in there, it had salves in there, it had chicken in there, it had money in there, it had all types of stuff in there. So, she said, all right, you take so-and-so tea. Yes, ma'am. She said, and you get it, you run you some bath water. And you run you bath water as hot as you could take it. I said, as hot as I could take it, Mom. She said, yes. I said, but you always telling me that I take too hot. She said, well, this time it's a good thing you take hot baths because now is the time to get in a bathtub as hot as you could take it. Which was simple for me because that's how I always would get in hot bathtubs. I don't know why. That's probably why I can't deal with the heat now because my body temperature, as soon as it come in contact with the temperature that I took baths in, I go crazy. I can't do it, right? So anyway, so I put the. She told me when I get the water as hot as Elizabeth. What did I say? Okay. You got that big old house and room out there. You don't want to go in there and make all your noise, huh? So go in your room, make all the noise if you want to. But if you got to be in here, you got to be a little quiet because I'm doing a video. Okay. So. And lock the door. Okay? When I finish, I'll come get you, okay? All right. So, this is some story I'll tell you. And this is not even half of it. There's so much stuff I can tell you about my marriage. But right now, this is about how we met. And this is the early part of our relationship. I didn't even get into our marriage yet, so that's probably going to be another video. But I just want to skim through it, okay? So, now, remember well, not yet. So, she said, make the water as hot as you can. Put this particular tea in there, which I can't remember what it was. And she said, make you some tea. Draw you some tea. I think she sent me some in tea bags. She said, pour it in a cup. Get in the tub with the tea in the tub. Right? Pour the tea in the tub and then get you a cup of the same tea. She said, and drink it. She said, and sweat it out. Let me tell you something. She said, before you drink the tea in the hot water with the hot tea. So before you drink the hot tea in the hot water in the tub, put some of the tea in the water and wash your vajayjay. And once you finish washing, she said, don't wash nothing else. You just wash that part of yourself with that tea. And then you take your cup of tea, not of the same tea in the tub. You take your own cup of tea of the same kind of tea. And you drink that tea as hot as you can, sipping it, and sweat that out. I got in this tub. I think she said for me to do it for 7 days or 2 weeks or something like that. So every time I went in the bathroom, I would lock the door because Tracy would want to come in there and everybody would be knocking on the door. I said, I'm in the bathtub. And they'd be like, all right, well, I got to use the bathroom. I said, well, okay. And I'll be right up in there. I'm more considerate now that I'm saved. I'll be like, child, you're going to be waiting for me because I'm not getting out right now. I'm being here for at least a good hour because I'm going to do what my grandmother said do because I wasn't going to tell nobody nothing. So I did that for the amount of time it was, whether it was a week or 2 weeks. And the itchiness started. For the first few days, the itchiness stopped. And then by the end of the week, going into the next week, the little warts started shrinking, right? And I don't know, I probably was feeling some kind of way as well, but didn't know it. So, whatever it was, I started feeling better. Like inwardly, I started feeling better. Those burning and itching sensations that I was having down there, I wasn't having no more. And by that second week, they was gone. Because I always would take a picture of myself. Always be checking the inside. That's how I knew I had them little white spots on my inside. And it would go, I seen it like making a little line going up in me. Oh, that's so crazy, right? What kind of sexual transmitted? I mean, I know she said it was warts, but what the crazy is a wart? How you get this inside your? How you pick this up in somebody? Oh my God, that's nastiness. It's like trees. You see what I'm saying? Oh Lord have mercy. And you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, that's probably the reason why I didn't want Tracy to touch me. Because after that happened, because that doctor from Job Corps told me, my best advice to you as well is not to let him touch you at all. I'm not here to break up nobody married. I said, well, we ain't married. Well, from the looks of things and how you was raised, you're gonna want to marry that man. But my thing is that he wouldn't touch me. Married or no married, he wouldn't be touching me. And now that I'm thinking about it, after that situation, I did not allow him to have sex with me anymore. We got into a lot of fights. That's where the abuse came in at. We would get into a lot of abusive fights, man. He would be sitting out trying to beat me up, and I'd be sitting out trying to beat him up, trying to kill him. And because I wasn't letting him touch me, I wasn't letting him put his stuff up in me. I wasn't letting him ejaculate in me. My subconscious, I didn't want him to touch me. All of this changed in California. So now I got past that, and maybe a month or two later, he was still doing his thing, messing around, bringing girls. By now, he's bringing girls in the house because I'm not sexing him now. And I'm getting bigger now. I'm about 7 months pregnant because I left from down there 8.5 months. So I approached him with it. I probably even argued with him and told him, you're not touching me because you out there catching stuff and giving me stuff. He's like, what? So he tried to throw it on me and try to tell me I was the one that was messing around. That must be you messing around. It ain't me. You messing around. So, I ain't say nothing. So anyway, now we're going to rewind. Now I'm leaving. 7 months pregnant. 8.5 months pregnant. It's time to come. I done got kicked out of his mother's house, went to his sister's house, stayed there for a few months, and now I'm getting kicked out of there. So I'm talking to my grandmother, and my father wants me to come back home. Paid for the ticket, everything. So now I'm on my way back home. Get back home. He comes. And so now I get pregnant 2 more times by him. Now, remember I told you, I didn't allow him to touch me. So the only way he could have sex with me was to, I use the word steal it. So in other words, he raped me. Because when you say no and they take it anyway, that's rape. So I'm not giving him nothing willingly. So whatever he's getting by taking from me. And I had 2 other children by him. So altogether I had 3 kids by him. I had a boy and 2 girls by him. So now we're back here into New York. He comes to New York. I have the kids by him. We get our own place. He's very abusive. He's hanging out. He gets caught on crack, drugs, all this stuff. He makes an attempt to kill my daughter, and God brings her back alive, and he burns her, and God gives her, she's the one that's deceased today, she's the one that's dead today, Lord Jesus. Now that I'm thinking about it, she really went through a lot, and I guess in the long run she couldn't take it no more, and she just gave up on life, and she wound up dying. It was too much for her, too much for her. She got to meet the daddy, knowing what her daddy did to her, knowing. And I can't really remember me no, I didn't tell her. She knew it. She knew what her daddy did. I didn't tell her anything. She knew it. And when her daddy came back up in here. She had really had lots of anger in her. And she had a whole lot of anger in her for me. And I know it was because I was dealing with him. And my son, his son, don't want to be bothered with her or me due to the fact that I'm with him. But ain't nothing I could do about it. You see what I'm saying? My kids is older now. Unfortunately, that child is deceased. But my son, he's older now. His other daughter is older now. So they old enough to make their own decisions. She here with me and him. So therefore, she got the choice to stay or she got the choice to leave, But this is my place. This is my apartment. Any apartment that I gotten into, it was a struggle to get into. And I did my best to take care of them. I did my best. I didn't have anything against the projects, but unfortunately I couldn't get in the projects due to the fact of a fire being set in my house by my daughter, the one that deceased. So housing, if you reckless, housing don't put you in a projects. I don't know how it is today, but back then, you starting fires and you selling drugs and all this stuff, they not letting you get in there in their buildings. So there was no drug trafficking in my house. It was just the fire that was caused. So we couldn't get in the projects, but we did get Section 8. So now, forward winding to this day right here, the present. You sit back, you'll remember the story where I said I was sitting up in his house, I didn't eat, they didn't take care of me, they didn't take care of the baby, they didn't take me to no doctor or nothing. And I don't even think I even went to a doctor. I didn't go to a doctor till I got to New York City. When I got to New York City, that's when I found out how many months I was. That's how I'm able to say I left there when I was 8.5 months. Because I only spent a month, 8.5, so another half will make 9 months. So I only spent half of a month. So my son was born in March, and I went back to New York January, February. Because my son was born in March the 5th, 1983. We got married March the 23rd. He wasn't even there for the birth of my son, his son. So now, wrapping up this video, I sit back and a lot of things I say to him, the Lord brings to me, to my memory, and causes me to witness to him, to tell him a lot of things that he did to me. He had no idea that he was going to reap it. And I said something to him, I think it was last night, a night before last, that I used to wonder why God brought him out here. But God answered that, if I'm correct, last night when I was talking to him. God brought him out back here so he could see what he did. So that he could see the things that he did to me. Otherwise, he would have never been able to see. If he had to stay down in California, he would have never knew the damage that he did. He would have never got to see the reality of salvation. And once he backslid and went back to California, he would have never knew the real reality in God and what he did wrong. And he got me up there starving. He messing around with me. He beating me up. Trying to kill a kid. He would have never seen that if he stayed in California. So God allowed him to come back to New York City. Had to allow him to get a stroke so that he wouldn't have the ability to take care of himself. And in all his wrongdoing to me and my kids, his kids, and one of my children is not his kids, and all the stuff that he do to that child, God is letting him see the love that child has, which is genuine, which is just like her mother, which is just like his wife. The love of mine is genuine for him. I didn't say I was in love with him. I love him with the love of God, because the love of God forgives people. And that's why I can say to anybody that's going through any type of abuse or whatever. I did not leave my husband because he was abusing me, but God allowed him to make that attempt on my child's life where ACS had to come in and ACS had to separate us because God knew I would have never left him. I'm not going to say God knows he would have wound up killing me. No. What probably would have happened was that one of us probably would have wound up killing the other. I would have never been so engrossed in salvation if me and him didn't separate. Because we were saved together. He got saved a year within in our marriage, and he backslid. And he was the first one backslid. And once he backslid, he started messing with me the same way he messed with me in Job Corps, where he manipulated me to go inside of a building behind a tree and have sex and get pregnant. Manipulation. But I thank God. I'm about to wrap up this video and go to the store. I thank God that I'm saved today. And I'm here to tell anybody that may be in a situation that I went through and you ain't even hear all my story, but half of my story or 1/3 of my story, 1/4 of my story. If it helps you, I hope it does. If you have faith and believe in God, God is able to bring you through anything. There's nothing that God can't do. And I wasn't even saved. Yeah, we got saved together. I got saved first and then he got saved. And he probably stayed saved 6 months and then he backslid and I tried to stay saved. And I got saved quite a few times with him. But eventually, I want to backslide. And each of my children has a different personality, have a saved personality and an unsaved personality. I do it up. Mary, she's the middle one. She has the saved personality. And that's why God really works with her. My last daughter, she has a saved personality. Not because I was saved with her, but because when I was pregnant with her, I really enforced salvation a lot. I stayed around my grandmother a lot when I was pregnant with her. You know, my son, I wasn't saved with him, but I was around my grandmother. That middle daughter that he almost killed, that was just me and my husband from the beginning to the end. I was not saved. Let me think. Yeah. Wait a minute. Was I? Because I remember coming in from church. Yeah, I was saved. Now I'm thinking about it, I was saved. But the beginning pregnancy, I weren't. No, I wasn't saved. I wasn't saved when I had him because we fought and argued a whole lot with that daughter's name was Tandra. We fought and argued a whole lot with her pregnancy. I went to church, but I wasn't saved. With Mary, I was saved. I'm trying to think. I was pregnant. Yeah, I was pregnant with Mary when he burnt Tandra. So yeah, that's how I was. I wasn't saved with Tandra. But when I was pregnant with Mary, the Spirit of God came in the church just all of a sudden, and my grandmother started speaking in tongues and crying. And she was crying, and she was crying, and she was crying. And we all know that when that happens, it's a warning. And she crying. And next thing you know, I started crying. And I'm crying. I was pregnant. I was about 7 months pregnant with Mary. She's the middle child. And well, actually, she was the last child. She was the middle child. She became Yeah, it was her. It was Terrence. Tandra did it. Yeah. So I don't know why I just consider the middle child. She was the last child, and she became the middle child because Danielle was then born. But anyway, I started crying, and I was crying. Oh my God, you thought I was crying? It was a cry like somebody died. I'll never forget that Sunday. And I was big, and and there was a young lady. She was Evangelist Nolan. And I cried so much. Me and my grandmother was crying, crying, crying. And she came over to me and she just started rubbing my back. She was rubbing my back. And she was trying to wipe. She was wiping my face. And she was holding. And I just kept crying. And I kept crying. And you know what? Back then when the Spirit of God come in, people didn't rush the Spirit of God. People allowed the Spirit of God to go through and finish. If it's somebody crying, let him go. Let him finish. Finish. And me and my grandma just crying. We must have cried for 30 minutes. Because back then when we had church, we had church. When we had service, we had service. And the Lord came in. The Lord came in and he like a mighty rushing wind. He came in there and he just do what he do. And however long it takes, he just did, he had his way. And the lady was rubbing my back. And she came over to me and she was hugging me. And I was, since I was sitting down, her body was up this way against me. And I was leaned up against her and she had a hand on my head and she was over my head and everything. By now, my grandmother stopped crying and she's just looking at me. And I'm just crying and I'm speaking in tongues. Now it went over to me. And I'm crying and speaking in tongues and crying and ever. And finally it stopped, right? And that was a Sunday, right? And that Wednesday, when I came out to go to church, me and my son, normally I take Tandra with me. But this particular time, she was a little baby, so I didn't really feel like coming out with her and struggling with her because I had to carry her, and Tracy wasn't with me. So I left her. And that's when Tracy tried to kill her. And it was a sad moment. I don't even want to talk about this right now because that's another video. But it was a sad moment because I want that video to just focus on her. And it may become very emotional. And I've already been talking for 2 hours. Oh, wow, it's only 52 minutes, not even an hour. Wow. But that was a very emotional moment in my life, in my grandmother's life, in everybody's life. My husband. That's when everybody deemed him crazy, but the only person that really deemed him crazy was me, because everybody was saying it was me. Everybody said I did it. The doctors was gonna lock me up, had me to get locked up and all that stuff, but they didn't have nothing on me. And to answer your question, yes, he got away with it. There was no press charges or nothing. What had happened was that I went to the precinct. And same Jennifer. Went to the precinct. The Brother Marshall was driving, and I told Brother Marshall to take me to the precinct, which was the 77th precinct on Utica. And, because at that time I was living at Bainbridge. Not Bainbridge. Where was I living at? Yeah, I was living at Bainbridge, right. And, told him to take me to the precinct. When I got into the precinct, I walked over to the officers, and I told the officers I would like to file an abusive case against my husband. And they was like, what? Which one is your husband? So I told them. And it was like Tracy knew what I was going to do because we had just left the hospital from seeing my daughter, our daughter. And when we walked, she was in intensive care. Lord have mercy. And I tell you, I just got to say this and put this in right quick. And when we walked into the hospital room, She saw me and her eyes just lit up. But then when she turned, he said to her, he said, "Hey, baby. Hi, sweetie." And she turned her eyes and looked and saw it was him, and she turned her head around like this and looked back at the wall. And you talking about it, because I wasn't sure what happened, because he was saying something else. But when she did that, that let me know that he tried to kill her. And it was so heartbroken. I walked over to her and I took her hand and she held my hand and she squeezed my hand. I said, "Don't you worry about a thing. Mommy got you. Mommy here." I said, "Mommy is here for you. Mommy gonna take care of this." And she turned around and she looked at me and she cried a little tear. She was 6 months. Yeah, she was just 6 months. She wasn't even a year. This is when he stuffed toilet paper down her throat and tried to kill her. All he wanted was some drugs at the time. That's it. Wanted some drugs. And he was mad because this was my first girl. So my attention wasn't on him. My boy was with my grandmother. So now my girl comes along and my attention comes to my girl, and he don't like that. The attention was on the girl and going to church, because mind you, I'm saved now. And I'm pregnant with her daughter. With her sister. And I told her I was going to take care of it, and I did. I went to that precinct and I put out a whatever you want to call it on him. And when they went over to him to talk to him, he knew in my face that something was up. Because he looked at, he's trying to talk to me, and I'm like this. Jennifer and Brother Marshall looking at me, and I'm just like this. And he's like, "Oh, God." I said, "Tracy, get off of me." I said, "Brother Marshall, get your friend." He's like, "Yo, man." He said, "Come on." He said, "Leave the girl alone. Leave the girl alone. You gotta leave her alone." And so she's like, "Yeah, Tracy." Jennifer was like, "Yeah, Tracy, leave her alone. Leave her alone." Right? Now that I'm thinking about it, she was there, but Jennifer was the godparent to her. She was there with some things with me. Yeah, that's right. Now that I'm thinking about it. Renee, me and Renee was close. It was me, Renee, Jennifer. Tracy never wanted to hang out with us. But then after a while, Renee got married, so then it was Renee, her husband, Jennifer, Brother Marshall, and me and Tracy. But he didn't like Brother Marshall, because me and Brother Marshall was close, and he didn't like Renee, and he didn't like none of my friends. He just wanted me all to himself. And when he realized that I was a strong-minded and stubborn young lady, and he couldn't control me, he couldn't manipulate me no more, then he had to back off. This is when I was saved. When I was unsaved, and we wound up fighting. So, yeah. So just like I told, let me just throw this in and I'm going to end this video. It's like I told her, I said, "Mommy's going to take care of it." And when we went to the precinct, I told the policeman about it, and the policeman went over to talk to him. He went ballistic in that precinct, and they had to grab him. They told him, "You better calm down, because if you don't calm down, we're going to arrest you." And I was so scared, because I thought when I got back home, he was going to beat me up. He wasn't that type of man. We fought, but he wasn't the man to come to me and say, "Oh, so you want to start trouble and start beating up on." He was too scared for that, because he didn't know what I had up my sleeve. And I always had some type of, how can I say it? I had some type, what's the word I'm looking for? I had some type of backup. So if he come at me and think of anything, I was going to kill him. I ain't lying. I was going to kill him. I wasn't sleeping hard. And come to find out, he wasn't sleeping hard either. But he never knew that I felt that he was going to kill me. But he told me that he felt that I was going to kill him. So that's why he would never sleep on me. And I would wonder why he'd be up late at night watching TV. When he was corny shows. "Tracy, you still up?" "Yeah," and I'm sleeping back, snoring. Even though I was scared, I was like, I used to tell him, I said, if you try anything, you better make sure you kill me. Because if I get up, I'm coming back for you, right? So in his head, he knows he's not no killer, even though you don't know what happened in somebody's mind that they wind up killing you. But I knew he wasn't gonna kill me. I was just afraid of what he would do. But I knew that he wasn't going to so much kill me. But it was very good. That's good. God allowed me to have that advantage, and he put that fear. It was God that put that fear in James because I know it wasn't me. Little old church girl, skinny, ugly, all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't put no fear in that man. God has to do it. And for him to be up afraid of me, thinking I was gonna kill him, and I ain't gonna lie to y'all. If he would have came trying anything to me, I would have killed him because he tried to kill me. Oh, now that I'm saying that, let me back up. He did try to kill me, but his reasons for killing me because he thought I was messing around with somebody else, which I wasn't. Now, mind you, he had already done had sex with this same Jennifer. He had already done had sex with this girl named Melody, my best friend's daughter. Jennifer in her house, and Jennifer was the daughter to my bishop today. And my husband went and stayed with them this particular time. I think for a week or two, could have been for a month. We was having problems. I don't know what kind of counseling they gave him because when he came back worse. And now I see why he came back worse because he was over there having sex with their daughter. And I personally think they knew about it. They didn't think, if they didn't know about it, God let them know. God gave them some idea. There's no way. There's no way you lead in some church and you don't, your daughter is sexing somebody's husband. You hear them talking and chatting all the time. You hear her giggling. You think they just having a friendly conversation. No, they having sex. But see, all of this had to come back to him. So yes, I did commit adultery. But I really think that he committed adultery first. Since I don't know who committed it first, you see what I'm saying? I don't really dwell on a divorcement, but just in case it was him, because if he went and had sex with Jennifer, I was safe. So I know I wasn't messing around. Now, when I went and messed around with a man, I wasn't saved because, see, I didn't do that. I wasn't hypocritical. I didn't go having sex with people, with men. Let me say it, devil. Ain't no people. I ain't going to have sex with men and then came back to the church acting like I was saved. Once I went out there and some man got on me and penetrated me and ejaculated in me, I was no longer saved. There's no time to be playing with God. So I didn't play with him. But when he was messing around with Jennifer, he was supposed to have been saved, and I was supposed to have been saved, and she was supposed to have been saved. And the mom and daddy was supposed to have been saved. I'm in the house taking care of kids, boo-hooing and crying over my husband because it ain't working right. And I'm having all this crying conversation with the Lord, and you over there sexing the bishop's daughter. But it's okay though. It's okay though. It's all right though. Because see, they always say what goes around come around. I ain't out there sexing nobody. No, I'm not. But his sins came back to find him out. Now he back over here. He can't barely take care of himself. He can barely keep himself from urinating on himself. He can't barely cook his food. He needs like some amount of medicine. Suffering. He is tormented. He's tormented. And I ain't got nothing to do with it. As you can see, I'm having a video and I may be skinny as God knows what. But it ain't because I'm stressed. So with that being said, may God be with you. Ooh, God be with you. You too, may God be with you until we meet again. Ooh, God be with you. Oh, may God be with you. Oh, God be with you until we meet, until we meet, until we meet again. Thank you. Y'all be blessed. And please subscribe, like, and subscribe to my channel. Like this video. And so that I can get enough subscribers so that I can do a live on my phone instead of having this video like this. Okay? It'll be a blessed day. And the name of this video will be How I Met My Husband. God bless you. Bye.